Whether you're looking to lose weight, lean out, build muscle, maybe improve your athletic performance, you'll likely need to count macros at some point. Macros is short for macronutrients, meaning carbs, proteins, and fats. Simply put, what is macro counting? Macro counting means that we are tallying up each of those individual categories throughout the day, aiming to a specific end target goal for carbs, proteins, and fats. In today's video, we're gonna visually break down and show you some meals and what that looks like when it comes to macro counting. But first, let's do a little touch on what is a macro. Macronutrients give us energy, and each type provides a certain amount of energy per gram, which is expressed in calories. Carbs, for instance, that's our first macronutrient. That's our body's preferred source of fuel. You can typically find 4 calories per 1 gram of carbohydrate. Carbs are gonna be things such as starches, grains, sugar, fiber. These are typically broken down into glucose, which is gonna be used to power everything from our brain to our muscles. Next, protein. Similar to carbs, protein has 4 calories per gram of protein. Protein is going to be found in our tissues that make up our organs, our muscles, and more, and they supply key amino acids which are going to help for growth, digestion, and repair of those muscle tissues throughout our body. Fats is going to be our third macronutrient category, and it's going to be the most calorically dense. Fats carry 9 calories per 1 gram of fat, and they're going to help with things such as insulating our body and also helping us absorb fat-soluble vitamins. Examples of fats would be things along the lines of avocados, nuts, seeds, healthy oils, and even things like salmon contain a good, healthy source of fat, but also a little bit of protein. It's super important to realize that there is no one-size-fits-all approach, and I can't say that enough. Everyone's macro breakdown is gonna be super unique to their body and how they digest and process foods, and potentially their lifestyle, and if you have any medical conditions, all of these factors play into your macro breakdown. Typically, most people eat between 45 and 65% of carbs, 20 to 35% of protein, and 10 to upwards of 35% of fat. Those percentages should equal 100% when we do that breakdown. So a really good starting place for a lot of people is gonna be 40% carb, 30% fat, and 30% protein, and then you can start to tweak those percentages based on how you're feeling and how your body's responding. Next, I'm gonna show you guys what my typical breakfast looks like and breaking that down into the macros that I eat daily. But first, a word from today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by LMNT. Plain water is not the best way to hydrate. Whether you had a couple drinks, worked your ass off in the gym, or just living an active, healthy lifestyle, our body needs electrolytes for optimal hydration. Electrolytes facilitate hundreds of functions in the body, such as the conduction of nerve impulses, hormonal regulation, nutrient absorption, and maintaining proper fluid balance. LMNT can help and prevent headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, sleeplessness, and other common electrolyte deficiency problems. It's science-backed, containing 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, and contains no sugar, no coloring, no gluten, or artificial ingredients, making it perfect for keto, low-carb, and paleo diets. LMNT is what I choose to get me through my toughest training sessions, so I'm confident that I'm hydrated, allowing me to perform my best. Right now, LMNT is offering my subscribers, that's you guys, a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single-serving packets free with any LMNT order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share LMNT with a salty friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/Christy Ermo. The deal is only available through my link, so make sure to head to drinklmnt.com/Christy Ermo to get your sample pack today. And now back to the video where I'm gonna break down a meal and show you how to calculate those macros. So here is one of my average breakfasts. I have eggs, turkey, asparagus, bell peppers, English muffin, and jelly, 393 calories, 40 grams of carbs, 13 grams of fat, and 25 grams of protein. And I've got a whole plate of food. And notice, it's mixed together. I'm not just eating egg with asparagus and bell pepper. I'm making it taste delicious and also feel kind of exciting that I look forward to and enjoy my breakfast, where I feel like when people macro count, they think they can't do that. So I'm gonna tell you how I did this and was still able to count the macros so I know exactly what's in my meal. The first thing that I did is I take my glass jar of asparagus and I put it on the scale. Once it's on the scale, it's obviously gonna read however much that glass weighs. We wanna get that weight out of there. So I'm gonna tear my scale, so now that I see 0 grams. Once I see 0 grams, I'm gonna remove the amount of asparagus I wanna add to my meal, and I place it on my cutting board. 30 grams of asparagus, okay? So I slice up my asparagus, so that way I know exactly what's going into this meal. I do the same thing with my bell pepper. Then from there, I do it again with my ground turkey. I take my glass container of my ground turkey, I hit tear. This time I wanna weigh my turkey in ounces, not in grams. So I'm gonna change that unit of measurement. Once I see 0 ounces on the scale, I'm gonna remove however much turkey I wanna include my meal, add that to my cutting board or whatever plate has the other food that is also going into this meal. So now I know I have 1.5 ounces of turkey, and because my turkey is cooked, I wanna make sure that I find cooked ground turkey in MyFitnessPal. We wanna make sure that's not raw because that does make a difference. For my carbs, I'm gonna do the same thing. I know that I have an English muffin, super simple. I just scan the label on the back of my English muffins. That way it loads it into the system and I don't have to hunt for it. I like jelly on my English muffin. It's a really good source of carbs before I train. I'm gonna tear out my scale again, put that jar on the scale. Once I tear it out, I'm gonna remove all of the jelly that I wanna add to my English muffin. It says negative 23 grams, so I know that I have 23 grams of jelly in this meal. It's really simple to put the containers on the scale and then tear out the weight and then remove the food that you want. That way you don't have to be getting 1,000 different dishes dirty. When I first started counting macros, I felt like I went through a million dishes. I'd get a bowl out, put my turkey in the bowl, then I'd empty that out, then I'd have to wash that bowl, then I'd get a spoon, put my spoon for my jelly. This makes it super simple and clean and easy. And then what you can do is take your entire cutting board that has all the foods that you want to incorporate into this meal, put them into your skillet or into your meal, and you know exactly what is on that cutting board. Rather than looking at a cooked meal and trying to figure out what the heck, how many ounces of turkey, how many grams of asparagus, how much jelly is on this English muffin. So in this meal, I love that I have an entire plate of food and it's really nutrient dense. And so I'm getting a really great breakdown. I'm almost at that 40-30-30, which I talked about earlier. I'm actually at 42% carbs, 32% fat, and 26% protein. So a little bit lower on the protein, a little bit higher on the fat than what I talked about. But this meal has 40 grams of carbohydrates, 25 grams of protein, and 13 grams of fat. Maybe you're going for a little bit more of a high fat diet and less carbs. We could easily sub out this English muffin, add another egg on top, add some avocado on the side. If you still want a little bit of carbs, maybe we take out the English muffin and jelly and do a side of blueberries, clementine, and then throw in another egg. You can still have a similar meal, but by changing out those components of that meal, you're gonna get a different macro breakdown. That one would have much less carbohydrate and increased fat and protein. So it's really fun and it helps you can get creative with these meals once you start to understand the makeup of the foods that you're putting into your meals. I see 3 huge benefits when it comes to macro counting that can really help you. First, I find that it helps with mindless eating. So for myself, in season, I am so strict. I'm counting rigidly. I'm making sure that I'm eating enough food. Out of season, I'm not training quite as much. My sessions are about 60% to 70% of what they were. And I start to notice that I'm just mindlessly eating because I'm no longer counting or tracking. I am now, but when I'm not, no longer counting or tracking, and I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm, just walking by the pantry and I just reach in and grab a handful of chips. When I'm macro counting, I am not reaching in and grabbing that handful of chips because I don't want to get my scale out and weigh out just because I'm mindlessly snacking. So I think it really helps you be aware of when you're eating and what foods you're putting into your body. It really helps me cut down on the snacks that I don't actually want. I'm just eating because I'm bored. The second benefit I think this can really provide you is it's going to help you understand what a true portion size is. You really, really need to use a scale to figure out what a true portion size is. You don't have to use it forever, but I recommend using it for a little bit. And the number one thing that I see people going over on portion sizes are gonna be oats and nut butter. We get our little tablespoon out and we scoop out a heaping tablespoon of nut butter. Just because that nut butter fits on that tablespoon and maybe it's overflowing does not mean that is 1 serving. It's actually usually double. So being able to portion out your food, read the labels, understand the labels and see, okay, this has this much protein, this much carbs, and this much fat, that is a true serving, I think is extremely beneficial. It's not something you have to do forever, but I do think it teaches you how to understand to look at a plate and know that you have a true serving on your plate. The third benefit, this has been really eye-opening for me, especially when I'm not training as hard, so when I'm in off season. It helps you understand the quality of food. A lot of times we look at calories and you're like, oh, this has 300 calories. Well, this has 300 calories. I'd much rather have the blueberry muffin. Well, all of a sudden you see the content or the caloric breakdown of the macro breakdown of that blueberry muffin, and you realize that that blueberry muffin is gonna keep you satisfied for all of 45 minutes because it has a very high glycemic index. It's gonna run through your system and it's not gonna keep you satiated and full. Then you look at overnight oats and you have a ton of protein, a ton of healthy fats, and you're getting a much bigger portion size than you would for that blueberry muffin, but the calories are the same. So it helps you look at the breakdown of the nutritious profile and helps you understand what you can get more bang for your buck that's gonna keep you full longer, that's also gonna fuel you and give you more energy and better energy. So I think counting macros really helps you understand the breakdowns of foods, not just looking at the calories, but the quality of foods that you're eating. And finally, if I could give you guys one tip, something that I've really learned is gonna be planning ahead. So when I'm counting macros in season versus out of season, in season, I have a ton of food to eat. If you guys have seen my videos in the past, we'll link some of them below. I'm eating 400 to 450 grams of carbs a day, 140 grams of protein, a lot of calories for my frame. And if I don't plan ahead, I get to the end of the day and I could have upwards of 200 grams of carbs left. And the last thing I want to be doing is putting in 200 grams of carbs an hour before I'm going to bed, because it's probably going to disrupt my sleep because I'm too full. So planning ahead is key, whether I'm in season or off season. I like to preload my meals. That way I know, okay, my breakfast is gonna have about this many macros. My lunch is gonna have this, my dinner is gonna have this. When I get to the end of the day, I'm within ballpark range, being able to kind of shift and change and hit those macros accordingly. If you don't hit them perfect, I like to use the plus or minus 5 to 7 grams rule. I do my best to get within plus or minus 5 to 7 grams, but as you get more comfortable, and if you can preload these meals and plan your day ahead and also have the food prepped in your fridge, you're setting yourself up for success. When it comes to macros, failing to prepare is definitely preparing yourself to fail. I think that's how it goes. But you just want to make sure you plan ahead so you set yourself up on the right foot and you can succeed and you're not kind of shooting yourself in the foot from the start. That's all for today's video. I hope you found something helpful, whether it comes to counting macros, the benefits of counting macros, or that tip that I gave you. I love talking about nutrition. It's been something that I've focused really hard on. I've done a lot of the nutrition certs. I love macros. I find it fascinating, especially with how unique our bodies are and how different breakdowns work for different people. If you guys are interested in seeing maybe another lunch that I do, a dinner that I do, me comparing in-season training versus out-of-season training when it comes to my macro breakdown, I'd love to bring you those videos. So definitely don't forget, smash the like button. That helps our channel, and drop a comment below with what you would love to see. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.